Well, I survived Christmas, as everybody listening did, obviously, as well. Actually, I didn't expect to do anything for Christmas. My family's in the Midwest, but on Christmas Eve, some friends texted me. I always tell them, text me, don't social media me, I won't get it. They texted me, thankfully, and invited me over for a sleepover party, and it was a lot of fun. I ended up going home at 6 a.m. and sleeping all day Christmas. But I wasn't sure if I'd do anything because that weekend before I went to Quartzsite, Arizona, and I spent, I left about 12:30 ish, and kind of went down a little slowly, and then I got there and slept maybe 2 hours before I walked around, and then on the way back I was so tired I stopped and slept for another 2 hours. So that whole day I slept about 4 hours. I slept pretty good the next night, but basically, I was a little short on sleep, so I didn't know. But then after sleeping all day Christmas, I was feeling really good. But while in Quartzsite, I got a proper crystal ball, a nice one. It's quartz, but it's pretty clear. It's a smoky quartz sphere, and I paid 80 for it. I have a shop, so I have a tax ID number, and I get discounts. So they wanted 120, but spheres can be expensive, and I don't know why they're so expensive. I mean, I have some other ones, but this is by far the nicest. And it actually jumped out at me. As I was looking, it was like saying, "Get me! Buy me!" Something about crystal balls, if you've never used them, people say that you look into them to go into trance. You're not like actually looking at images. But what I find to be the case is if it's sitting in its holder, I'll just I'll put my mind on it. I won't necessarily look at it, but I'll put my mind on it, and then I'll turn it this way and this way slowly until I feel like it's almost like I can see a veil shifting in my inner eye. And I'll use it to tune a little bit. Now, what's quite remarkable is that if you do that and you get what I'm talking about with that shift, it's almost like an eye twinkle. You can go back and forth with it. Once you find that twinkle, you can kind of tune it right to the right point. Well, the thing that's remarkable is if you're paying attention to that and you are focusing on your breath with that idea in mind, right at the top of the breath, from the inhale to the exhale, you can find this tuning effect. And so with the diaphragm breathing, the whole breathing apparatus, it's like once you're at the top of the breath, it's not like you're breathing, it's almost like you're breathing slightly, although it's even more subtle than that. It's like the intention to breathe. So it's somewhere between the inhale and the exhale. You can find this shimmer, this shimmer. And I think anybody who stares at one thing long enough, the mind can go into this shimmer effect. But it's like the first gateway to the inner vision. It's like once you get to that shimmer thing, there's a second gateway that I found at certain times in my life that can be completely remarkable, unexpectedly remarkable. So, although, like I say, there's gazing where you're actually looking with your eyes. What I find with crystal balls is on their stand, you can just like move them like a three-dimensional tuner, and if you do it, it's the lattice in the crystal. I guess, if you put your mind on the crystal, and then rotate it until you get that a sort of, you can feel like a veil kind of shifting, and you tune into it. Go into trance. I'm thinking about making my shop more like a little psychic shop. The idea of being paid to be a psychic counselor is a little funny to me, and I don't know why it's funny. It just seems funny. It's like, but it would be fun. People come in, they say, "Oh, I don't know," and I say, "Sit down, I will tell you." It just seems funny that a person should have authority or wisdom over another. I don't know why. It's nothing better than wisdom. And really, actually, I feel like it's my duty to be a teacher. And I've been shirking that duty until recently. I've decided to take on that mantle as a teacher. Because the truth is, people are steered wrong in this world. There's some people who are going the wrong direction. And on one hand, it's like not for me. It's not for me to say someone's doing right or doing wrong. On the other hand, though, I can see when someone's messing up. And so I think I'll start letting people know you're doing right or doing wrong. That's a super magic square. I cut my thumb. My thumb's almost sealed up from the. I cut it with this Vietnamese slicing tool. It works surprisingly well. Oh man, this last week I was taking antibiotics and they weren't proper, but they worked. I had this tooth that I decided I'm going to get it worked on. But because of the way the school works, you can't just call them up and go get a root canal. Now, I don't want a root canal, but I've decided that that's the right course of action. So essentially I can go in Monday morning in the emergency and they'll look at me and say, oh, in a month we'll root canal you. A month, you know. So I took antibiotics and they ended last night. It doesn't hurt, but I only have essentially a bowl of oatmeal and some dates today. These juju dates from Asia. They're not as sweet as the Arabian dates. And I want to eat some good food, but I also don't want to inflame this situation. Because I called up Mexico and they said, oh, we'll send you some, but it's going to take 2 weeks. 2 weeks! I'll be dead and buried in 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't really want to go to the doctor, right? But at the same time, if it becomes inflamed, I'm going to have to. Unless I order more fish antibiotics. But who knows? I don't advise it, in fact. I mean, I'll do things that are a little silly for me, but... Like, I mean, I'll eat food from the trash can, but I'm not going to serve it to somebody. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say, here! This is a really delicious bagel. Unless I tell them, and they're also riffraff. When I lived in Lawrence, Kansas, I lived right behind a bakery. And this bakery was the best one in town. And they wouldn't throw their bread away. They'd put it in a bag and put it kind of next to the trash. Sometimes they'd put it in the can, but usually it'd be next to it. And so, like, you know, basically daily I could go down and have day-old bread. Best in town. I was always stocked up on the best bread. I had no shame about that. Well, I got my cameras for my shop. I've been broken into 4 times this last half year. I don't think it's probably the same person each time, but now I have cameras. And my intention, I have a light right by the door. My intention is to put a motion sensor on that light and then put a strobing red and blue light. So if anybody walks right by my window at night, the red and blue light will start strobing right in the window. And I think that alone would scare people off. But then when they look at it, there's going to be a camera right there looking at them. Then I'll have like 8 cameras. I bought this camera set and recorder and had no hard drive. So I go on eBay and I found a hard drive for $30 and had no screws. So I went to the hardware store today, got some screws. And as I was exiting, I think it had just happened. It looked like this big old truck that had like a young, looked like a 20-year-old girl and a couple dogs, and then what appeared to be her dad surveying the damage. Looked like she had hit a stucco pillar, like a pillar, like, you know, holding up the front of the building, and it was all cracked, and he was just surveying the damage. But the lady didn't look stressed at all, so I don't know if she hit it or what, but it was laughable. It was a laughable circumstance. I ended up right there because I needed the screws, and you know, in the modern day, only a few like Ace Hardware and True Value, they have all the little selection of all the little screws. But a lot of the big, you know, stores, you have to buy a whole packet. I only needed 4. But so anyway, I got my cameras.